it occurred to me to do a search of the term Holocaust, so I did. And I was shocked to see that this was the first search result that was on the page. I didn't use a capital H. To be honest, I didn't think I would have to. I mean, this was really shocking. I found it to be very, very shocking, actually. I mean, it does talk about the Holocaust. It does talk about the Holocaust, capital H, things that happened in the last century. And yet, even when I did a search of the term with a capital H, it shows the same thing as the historical definition, which I think is really, really irresponsible. I mean, at first I thought, like when I saw the first one, you know, and then I looked at the second one, I thought, okay, well, you know, this is kind of what I wanted to use as an example of another word that has like a larger meaning that deals with lots and lots of people. It has a couple meanings. It has a meaning with a small c, and it has a meaning with a large c, right? And this means universal when it's just being used just as a word. I don't know, and I hadn't heard of that definition until a few years ago, which is kind of an interesting definition. That this is kind of what was chosen as the word, you know, to be given to this religion. But at least it's there. At least the other meaning is here. And here it isn't even. Sorry, that's for the next thing that I want to talk about. Yeah, it's not there. Right? It's the first thing on the page. The first definition that's given, even with a capital H. It's like they're trying to blame it. It's like they're trying to blame it on Jewish people. This incredible slaughter of millions and millions of Jews. I mean, Jews were not the only people who were killed, but they certainly it was an extremely deliberate attempt to kill all of the Jews in the world. That was the goal. That was the goal, and it certainly was not something that was perpetuated by Jews on other people. And then I thought I would look up this term because I thought that was, you know, that's certainly significant because this happens. This happens, right? Holocaust denial, and at least that was there. Denial is something that happens, isn't it really, really something that always happens when an authority is doing something really terrible, or there's something really, really terrible that's happening that an authority doesn't want to deal with. And of course, denial is something that allows really terrible things to happen, allows them to continue to happen. It's an extremely important part of what allows these things to continue to happen. And then I did a search of this. I will tell you, I never heard of this before this year. I mean, that's how serious denial of these types of things really is. I had never heard of this before a few months ago, and yet it was something that was a deliberately inflicted famine that Stalin inflicted on the Ukraine, and millions of people died. I never heard of it before a few months ago. Had never ever heard of it before. So this is an article that I found about it. It was our first article that it shows that I thought would be. I mean, sometimes I would look at Wikipedia, but I tend to look at it just either for instant information about something I don't know anything about, or information about something I know. So I feel like I already know something about and maybe can get sort of other ideas from. But this I thought looked like it would be something that was more definitely absolutely factual. It just happened to be the second one on the page. But yeah, consistent blatant denial. And I thought this was significant, that other people were also involved in the denial. I mean, the last people in the world who are supposed to deny something that's happening, well, not the last people in the world, but certainly it is not a good thing when the media denies that something's happening. He was a Pulitzer Prize winner. Okay. And then other governments refused to acknowledge it. Apparently, it wasn't even until the late 1980s that it was recognized that this happened. Not until the late 1980s. I mean, there were trade agreements. There were trade agreements other reasons that other governments didn't want to pay attention to what was happening, and of course the Soviet Union entirely denied it. Not until the late 1980s. So here are pictures for it. A little more. This should be familiar. The starvation, right? And then these piles of bodies. That should be familiar to anyone who has ever even heard of genocide. This page also has a quote that I thought was an important quote. So I looked it up, and it's this: simply find out whom you're not allowed to criticize. And yeah, of course, when something like this happens, you don't even need to criticize. And if they decide you're part of the group that they're trying to destroy, you don't have to say a word, and they will attack you.